All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 209 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, admin on the FAQ cesspool. I am joined today by the usual gang, 69th Blizzard Ken.
Hello.
Marcus Almighty, Mark.
Greetings.
And the man with no taste in sports teams, Lonnie.
Wow.
Kiss.
And we're off.
And we're off. Yes, there we are. So we've got a few things to go through because the Kiss news is just like blowing up today, and there's been a lot happening in the past week. First things first, I did Facebook Live last night using my other Mac, and it was a fail. I had to install Chrome to go live on Facebook, and then I forgot to do one thing. That was check that the microphone was on. So I did announce the winner of the Originals Plus One Photo Spectacular giveaway. It was Rick Friel, of course. What you missed me saying at that time was we had 56 entries that were valid. We had a few wrong answers, so you were deleted. And there are a few multiple entries, and you were deleted too.
You obviously didn't listen to the whole craptacular show last week.
Yeah, you know what? Nice try, but Quantum Flux was not a really good guess. But Rick, I said the methodology was I went to random.org, picked a random number between 1 and 56, and it was number 49. So the 49th email was Rick, and it's in the mail to him. So thank you, everyone, for entering the contest. I do appreciate it, and we, of course, appreciate you listening to the show. What else? Well, what's been hitting the news waves this afternoon is, of course, new costumes. So let's just start at the top of their initial impressions to that. I've known that new costumes are coming. It's not been a secret. It's been mentioned previously that they are going to be doing something new. I'm going to just rip off that comment that I mentioned before we went on the air, that someone did comment that Tommy looks like a Mercedes-Benz emblem, and I had commented earlier that it looked like Gene was laughing at Tommy, who looked annoyed in that picture. It is, of course, for the Sirius XM Town Hall, which is going to be hosted. Let me just check the details on the invite here. It's October the 29th at Sirius XM Studios in New York City, 3 p.m. You can enter to win entry to that event if it still goes ahead, now that they may have gone a little bit early with the photo. I don't know what the details are. Maybe it's planned to start doing a little bit of ninja type things. And Mark, yeah. I'll replace your image. Hopefully, no, actually, I won't replace it. I'm not going to get sued by the photographer. Fuck that. So, smart. Yeah, so Lonnie, what's your take on that when you saw it? And just give us some thoughts so I can shut up.
I was, I guess, just about anybody this afternoon. Little downtime. Obviously, what do? You play on your phone for a minute, and that came up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's some subtle differences. Nothing extreme. And that's really usually the case. I mean, there wasn't anything really extreme when they switched from the Sonic Boom costumes to the monster costumes. There were subtle differences, nothing over the top. I wasn't expecting Dynasty 2 type of costumes or anything like that. Everybody's commenting on the Tommy costume, but really the Tommy costume is the only one that we really get a full-on frontal view of, as opposed to the other three that, Gene's kind of hiding behind Tommy. Paul, we kind of see it. Eric's kind of hiding behind Paul a little bit. I'm not surprised that Eric is has a vest type of top piece on it, because Eric had commented that he really liked his Sonic Boom costume in the past, which basically was a vest very similar to what he has on. So I'm not surprised that Gene's wearing some kind of armor type thing, covering up as much as we can. And Paul looks a little more covered than he has in the past as well. The Tommy costume, yeah, it reminds me of Ace's Dynasty costume, but very mirror-esque in the front. So I don't know. We'll see. It's not just a, I don't know. It looks like a I don't don't know, the picture isn't the best to sit there and start making judgments of if I like the costumes or not. You know what? Let's get a good view of them at this town hall meeting next week, and maybe a good view of them on Fallon on Tuesday night. You know, and then we can make our full judgments on them. But you know what? For the most part, I'm excited. I'm excited that we get one more set of Kiss costumes before they go away, and it's not a rehash. It's not. Granted, I thought the creature costumes were really cool, but it's not a rehash. It's not the Destroyer costumes again, or something of that nature. So I'm happy that they're brand new costumes for one more go around. So I'm happy.
Nice. And when Lonnie's happy, that's a good thing. Mark, what's your take on him?
Well, I mean, like Lonnie said, I think the only one that you really get a proper view of is Tommy. And I mean, it doesn't really bother me, his outfit, to be quite honest. I thought at first when I took a look at it, my first reaction was it is different a bit. Like the V shape is still there, like as per normal, right? But I like the way that they did kind of a little bit more of a different design in the V there. The thing that I don't like about this picture is that the fact that it's not a sharp picture. It looks like it's like photoshopped to death, obviously. And it's just not clear on what the other guys are wearing. I mean, it's hard to tell what Gene's material is that he's wearing. And Paul's wig, though, I got to say, that's the most bouffant hair I've ever seen him have on. It's like, holy smokes, it's like a helmet.
Who is the guy, Randy, in that movie? Oh, God, what's that movie? Is it Coming to America? And they've got the Randy with the big booth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Soul Glow. Soul Glow.
That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. So
yeah, his hair is really big in this, but I mean, the costume, it's just hard to make a proper judgment on it without having a proper, like, real photograph picture of them standing with them on. I mean, you can tell that, you know, Eric's got the cat sort of emblems on there on his vest and stuff, but I think Lonnie's. Interesting, Lonnie brought up the fact that Paul does look a lot more covered up than in prior costumes. But, you know, come on, the guy, he's hitting 70 soon. So, yeah, what do you expect, right? But overall, I'm not disappointed in it. It's not something that makes me want to slap my forehead or anything. But, you know, is it a radical difference? It's hard to tell. I mean, I think Tommy's is definitely on the track of something a lot more different than before. So I think that's a good start.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think Spiro had chimed in that he designed at least Tommy. Don't know whether he had a hand in other design elements throughout the costumes. Going back to Randy Watson and the Soul Glow there, Paul makes me think of a leather-clad Psycho Circus ringmaster. That's my initial take from him. I mean, his pose there. I mean, just like the little vest and then the over jacket on. And again, it is hard to tell. Gene reminds me of the prototype for Dynasty.
Yeah,
all that's
that spider.
All that's missing is the red cape, really, to really tie it back. Peter looks completely stoned. Oh wait, no, that's Eric. Sorry.
It's not Peter.
Why did I associate?
This isn't 1999.
One with the other, you know. But Eric looks like he's had a little bit too much catnip there. I think it's a cool.
It's his best Peter Criss imitation.
Yeah, no, I love the rendering. I think it's really cool. I can't wait to see, you know, whether this is an accurate representation of what the new costumes are going to look like. And obviously, it does leave a lot to the imagination. So you're just like getting a little bit of a peek here. You know, it's optimistic, but Tommy's doesn't quite work yet. So I'll need to see it in action. Ken, give us some reason.
Reason. Well, I wanted to see how they changed Gene's codpiece.
That's what everyone's interested in, is the codpiece.
Because that's the first thing you look at in a guy, his codpiece.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know about you guys.
Seriously, folks. No, I agree with Tommy's outfit. Yes, obviously it's like a nod to the Dynasty costume, and I think and Gene's too. I thought that too. It looks a little bit scaly kind of thing, that silver texture kind of thing that they were doing. It looks like a darker version. Yeah, it looks like it had some kind of bolt, like as if it's a robot, because big bolt like nut on the shoulder, rather than those horns that were coming out of his prior costume.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Paul's, they all look fine. I mean, we haven't seen the whole costume. We don't know what the boots are going to be like. I mean, I would assume Gene's still going to have the gargoyle, but with a different, the boot covers that run up his leg. What's that going to be? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And Eric looks like Eric. I mean, it's nothing drastic as far as changes. I don't expect that, but they really went for the silver metal. The metal look, I think, metal, silver, and black. I mean, that is definite. These, just keeping it silver, black. Don't throw any colors or anything in it. Now, maybe they'll come out on Fallon and there'll be some colors in there or something, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any, at least from that picture.
I mean, it's kind of like 1974, really. Black, silver, and that's it. The basic elements at the beginning are what's represented in costumes at the end. It's going to... When is Fallon? Is that the 30th?
Yes, Tuesday at 3.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit busy that night. Hopefully I'll have to catch that online after the gathering, which moving into that is go on Facebook, go to the Kiss Cruise preparty.com, and he's been posting a lot of updates, very useful information as well about the cruise, the gathering. I mean, basically Elvis is now showing up. Everyone is going to be there. It's really incredible. I want to wrap up something that we kind of started last week now that we've had a week with Spaceman. I've listened to that album a lot. The versions that have come out during the week, actually, even before we get to that, I do want to thank Scott Engel and Ace Goebel for filming and going to the New York City Q&A with Ace and sharing it with both, the KissFAQ and the... What's it called? The Ace Frehley Ozone Facebook group. But obviously, it was shared for both sites, which, everyone very much appreciates, and there's been a lot of views on that. It was a pretty good Q&A. I mean, Ace was talking about Malimo and some other stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these recent press appearances, primarily Paul today. But I just do want to give a quick show and tell, since my third copy of the vinyl arrived today. So merch now, Spaceman. Signed. Did show up. Cool. It's neon blue. It's absolutely beautiful. Kudos to E1 on that. The independent record store one, orange vinyl. I can't bring myself to open that one, so the pictures look good on the one that arrived today, which I posted a picture of the packaging, and that is the Euro violet colored vinyl. Comes with a CD on the inside. Again, very, very cool to have 4 different versions. I couldn't find the US one in silver. Amoeba in San Francisco had 1 copy last week, and I was like, I'll get it later. Went back, it's gone. Nothing there. No more copies, no CDs, nothing. So, it's been a fun week listening to that album. Let's see. Where are we up to now for... All right. Last week's topic that we were going to do was a little bit about Paul's recent comments all over the place. So why don't we dive into that? And, the first one of the things that he's kind of said recently is he doesn't think Kiss will release any new music before calling it quits. And that was posted on Loudwire as part of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp Q&A that was conducted. You can go on YouTube and check out all of it. But here's what he said. It's a different time now. I could write Let It Be and people would still say, that's great, now play Detroit Rock City. No, he said Detroit Rock City this time. I understand it because when... he forgot he wrote Love Gun. I understand it because when you have songs have a history with you, they're like a snapshot of a time in your life, and that's not something that anything can take the place of overnight. It's interesting that I think Modern Day Delilah or Hella Hallelujah are as good as anything we did, but I understand that people are more connected to those old classic songs. So what do you think, Mark?
Well, I mean, disappointing that they're not going to do anything, but it's not surprising. I mean, I think at this point we already probably knew that that's not going to happen because they're preparing for a 3-year tour. When are they going to have any time to do any kind of recording then, right? I mean, that's just not going to happen, right? Will something happen after the tour is done? Because like they said, they're not maybe going to wrap it up totally. They're just not going to be touring anymore. Maybe they might do something after it's done. Who knows? But, you know, I would have hoped that they would have had at least a song or a single put out, but, you know, it just doesn't look like that's going to happen now. I mean, it is kind of disappointing. And, you know, I understand his point about, you know, he could write the best song he could ever write tomorrow and nobody would probably care. But I don't understand, being a musician myself, that whole attitude, because I don't write songs for others. Believe it or not, I write songs because I like writing songs and I like doing it and it satisfies me. And I know lots of other musicians have said that as well. Nikki Sixx has said it. Elton John has said it. I mean, I know so many other musicians who said that they just write songs because it's something that they enjoy doing. And if others enjoy it, that's a bonus to them, right? So I don't understand, you know, is this something that he's just never enjoyed doing? Or is this now just, you know, he just doesn't see a point writing songs anymore? Either way, I just find it disappointing because I think that, you know, they have still something left to offer musically, and the fact that they're not going to give us anything else is disappointing.
Yeah, Lonnie.
You know, like Mark said, it's disappointing, but it's not surprising. I mean, I think the more shocking news would have been that we're going to release a new album that's coming out in November. I think we all would have been shocked by that, not opposed to comments of, I don't think we're going to record any more albums. I think we've seen the writing on the wall the last few years. I mean, they toured in 2014 without a new album. They toured those secondary markets in the U.S. in 2016 without a new album. You know, I think we all would have been surprised if they said they're going to make a new album. It's disappointing in the fact that I enjoyed Sonic Boom, and I enjoyed Monster, not to the extent that I enjoyed Sonic Boom, but I do enjoy that album. And it's kind of sad that is the last official Kiss recording we're going to get, that thing they did with those Japanese girls a couple of years ago. So that's a little disappointing. And, you know, but the fact that Gene's been walking around the last couple of years saying, oh, I just wrote a new song called Your Wish Is My Command, it's going to be the greatest thing ever, and it ends up on Ace's solo album. Well, there's an even bigger clue that, you know, there's not going to be another Kiss album if he's given this song that he's been touting for the last couple of years to Ace to put on his record. It's because he knows that, well, there's not going to be another Kiss record. So here, we might as well just put it out in some form. So Ace, here you go. I'll give me a co-write and we'll put it on your album. So it's disappointing. And you know, I can see them doing some kind of live album when this tour's all said and done, and a live 5, the final chapter, or some bullshit like that. But I don't see them going back in and doing any kind of studio recording unless it's to touch up some live stuff from recordings from this tour. So, you know, that kind of is what it is.
God damn it. Ken.
Well, I think Paul, as far as writing songs, has always, I think he's found it as more of a task than a pleasure. And he said that, they were under contract to do another album. You know, when the time came to record, that's when he'd write and start writing. He didn't write every day like maybe Gene does. Gene seems to write regularly. For him, it's just I think a joy. Gene, at least, a joy to write songs. Yeah, I think it is. I think he loves to, come up with things and fool around with it and get at least pieces of songs that he's going to put together later. But Paul, yeah, it's not. There's no fire behind him, lit to pressure him into writing, and maybe that's what he needs. I don't know how you'd even do it, unless they said, well, we're going to give you $10 million to produce an album, and it has to be done by this certain time. then okay, I'm gonna write now. I have to do it. I think that's when he writes his best music, when he's under pressure to write them, but not for pleasure. I think this painting now is more of a pleasure thing, maybe therapeutic in a way for him. And I don't think songwriting is to him that. And it's kind of unfortunate. And then as to the other point, real quickly, is about the song saying that, well, the song's not classic because it wasn't part of that time, but that goes for maybe some of the Kiss Army fans from way back, but newer people discovering Kiss, or I've discovered Kiss even with the Sonic Boom and Monster, I would think they would want, and if they love those albums, they would want another album.
Yeah, that's their rock and roll.
So exactly, wherever you come into the group is where it's your time. Like Julian came in at Asylum and all that. So I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I think it's a cop out. I don't. And the thing is, the other night they did that In-N-Out Burger deal, and his voice sounded fine. If it's that good, then you can write. Go ahead. You can record. If it's that good as it sounded, you can record. If there's something else going on, then maybe that's not it. And Julian has something for the.
Julian's a whore.
What that is later, but anyway. So that's it. I'm rambling, but I just don't buy it.
That is called a backing tape. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think Ken's on the right track with it. But I don't think Gene smiles when he writes songs. I think he is just so kind of emotionally devoid of the joy of music that he writes a song and he's like, well, that'll do well. I'll be able to sell that to someone. Whereas Paul is more the artist of, I'm not feeling it. And I don't have, it's not fulfilling. I think he even said that, in the Q&A at the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, that he comes from the emotional aspect of it, that if I'm not getting something out of it, then I'm not doing it. And that something is validation, that it has to be received by the people like Detroit Rock City instantaneously, forgetting that many of the songs in the back catalog took years to become classics because they were part of something from the beginning. Those songs weren't classic immediately. Well, maybe one or two were, but...
Well, like Creatures of the Night stuff wasn't classic immediately. It wasn't well received. And now Creatures of the Night stuff are classics because it's aged well. Time has done Creatures a favor. But Creatures, I Love It Loud wasn't an instant classic. I mean, Ken said there was no one at those shows that he went to, hardly.
A lot of new records are not classics at the time. Nobody wants to hear the new stuff. Everybody wants to hear the older stuff. I mean, could you believe that at one point that somebody actually might have thought of that about Love Gun? Okay, this is okay, but I want to hear something from Destroyer. That's how it could have been, right?
Man, we can't go through a show without taking a cheap shot at Destroyer.
But
hey, actually, I was actually giving that a credit there that time. Actually,
yeah, he was being nice this time. But not all bands are like Iron Maiden that will bludgeon their audience with a lot of a new album. Then again, 2 songs off a new Iron Maiden album probably amounts to about 27 minutes these days. When I went to see them in Oakland last tour, I mean, there was one song that, and I think it was The Red and the Black, just kept going and going and going, and I'm starting to doze off. I'm like, we really need to get to the next song. And Kiss has never been like that. But listen to something like Say Yeah. That stuck around in the set. That is a legitimate classic now, as far as I'm concerned. And in that is the audience reaction to the song when it is performed. Paul leads them. They get into it. They say, yeah, it's simplistic. But, the audience gets into it. Often when you hear a new song, and Paul did rightfully say that you can turn down the audio on a concert and you can tell when a band's playing a new song. Because the audience just goes all limp. and the energy kind of sucks out of it. And we've talked about it previously on some of the deep cuts that have been performed, like in 2004, that those sections of the concert. But if you never give the music a chance, you came into Monster with 6 songs off that album, I believe, at those first shows and on the cruise. A lot of that album, they had a chance to do more with those songs than they allowed to germinate, or maybe they were just too brutal to perform in the set. We don't know the reasons why they didn't last, but you have to give them a chance. When they bring, what was it, at Crazy Night, 6 songs they start off the tour with. Creatures of the Night, I think 6 songs as well. You have to plant those seeds and let them grow. They've stopped doing that. It's like they've become as bad as the fans, that we demand instant gratification, that we want the music now. We don't want to have to pay for it. Well, Paul wants the instant gratification of an instant classic. And I think it's unrealistic. I think you have to still have a passion. I write songs. I don't do it for anyone else. I do it for my own joy, just to see if I can get anything to go with any of the fucking music that I write. It's more an exercise in futility. But I'm doing it for pleasure. I'm not worrying. Then again, I'm not a working musician either, with a legacy. Big difference. Mark, you are a working musician who releases music. So if you're writing for joy, are you not also thinking about your fan base, the people who listen to you? So you've always got that in your mind. Paul Stanley probably has to think, does this work with a Kiss fan? So he may have a very narrow set of parameters by which he can write, and he may well be wanting to write some other stuff that he just knows is not Kiss material as well. So I think he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And it's probably just easier to say, I'm not feeling it, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Psycho Circus is a good example of that too. I mean, when they started playing Psycho Circus again, when they hadn't played it in several years, they brought it back, and people were like, oh wow, this is great. But Psycho Circus wasn't, people weren't clamoring to hear Psycho Circus like in 2004 on Rock the Nation tour. I'm like, it's fine. But when they brought it back like in 12 or 13, like, okay, well, it's been a while since I've heard this. It became a snapshot of people's lives. Like, I remember when this came out. I remember the Dodger Stadium show and how excited I was for a new Kiss album. Granted, you can say what you want about the album Psycho Circus, but the song is really good. And I think people were excited to hear that song again. It became a Kiss classic where it has to become, to Julian's point, it has to become a Kiss classic. It isn't an overnight Kiss classic.
Do you remember how pissed off people got when they dropped I Pledge Allegiance from the set in 2004? They started playing it in Australia.
And then they didn't play it when they came to
and people's heads blew up. So, I mean, again, another thing along the lines of it was given a brief chance and then no more.
It's all about time. I think Lonnie brought up a good point there, that it's all about time, because once you let something sit and germinate for a little while, then all of a sudden, sometimes people's opinions of the songs might change, right?
Like the wine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we brought up an interesting point last week about how Julian said that he's interested to see what people's reactions to the Ace album is going to be like a year from now. If they have the same reaction to it. I think it's the same thing with songs in general. Some people might love it right now, and in a year from now might be over it completely, or they might love it just as much or even more. And it's the same thing with albums in general. Psycho Circus may have been something that people were like, oh, this is not as good as I expected, but 10 years later, they're like, actually, I don't mind this so much anymore. Like you said, it's a snapshot of that time. They remember when it came out, their reaction to it when it came out, and then all of a sudden now it's something that's important to them.
Correct.
Yeah, and I still have, long way down. First time I heard that song, I was like, holy shit. Paul Stanley can still write a song like that has that kind of impact on me. That blew my mind. But again, I think with Paul, it's my rules or I'm not playing the game, which unfortunately you kind of need Paul Stanley for a Kiss album.
Kind of an important player.
Yeah, maybe not necessarily behind the console, but certainly in terms of writing and the voice. So, again, it is what it is. You can't hold a gun to someone's head and make them do something that they really adamantly don't want. And if Paul, if he gets his validation now from Soul Station, And maybe that is where he will write some new music, because that will be more of a challenge to him to get outside the wheelhouse of, where he's essentially been for the past 45 years. If that is where he goes, I'll give it a listen. I will most certainly give it a shot to see what he does with it, where he goes. If he gets his validation from his art, fine. Come on, he's given us 45 years of entertainment and, bleeding on the stage for the fans. If he's just empty now and can't do it for any other reason than wanting to make us happy, Paul, then we're just going to have to deal with it. All right, so Ken, you actually mentioned something that was going to be, something else that I talked about, and that was the corporate gig for In and Out that the band did on October the 22nd. I didn't even know they were doing it. That was the next day. I was like, holy shit! Usually you do hear that they're going to be performing, but I just want to read the set list. They did 16 songs that night. Opened up with "Shout It Out Loud" into Deuce. So song number 2, Mr. Gill's happy. Deuce is done. Thank you. Look It Up, I Love It Loud. Oh, Say Yeah. Heaven's on Fire. Firehouse.
Yeah.
Plastercaster. Deep Cut. Strutter. Like Christine 16. Lonnie, Psycho Circus. Nice. Cold Gin. Love Gun. Black Diamond. Detroit Rock City. And Rock and Roll All Night. What were your guys' impression of, number 1, the set list? Number 2, now we've seen some clips of more complete songs. There's been a debate about whether the band are now using some backing tracks. That's why I snarkily held up the cassette earlier. What did you think overall from what you've seen? Mark, just go wherever you want with it.
To be honest, I don't think I've seen this. So I have nothing really to say about it.
This will be like Lonnie's Spaceman moment for the last 2 songs.
Come on, Mark, do some show prep.
It's like, I did. Julian didn't put this in the topic list.
It can work.
The links.
I honestly didn't know about this, to be quite honest. So, but I'm going to go back to what my initial impressions were when I saw them, like when they did the television appearance, though, and that is, if they're going to be doing this tour, and I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, they're going to be using backing tapes. There's no way around it, because he can't do this set, especially when they're going to be doing 25 songs in the condition that he is now. And there's just no way around it. I mean, even Julian just now jokingly put up that cassette tape there. I mean, it's a necessity now. And if we want a good show, then it's going to have to be used, I think. So, and unfortunately, I'm very sorry that I didn't watch this, so I can't give you more than that. But I'm curious to hear your guys' reactions.
Yeah, you're about to drop a new album, so you've got a legitimate excuse. You're busy, guys. So, Ken, let's see if you know anything about this.
Yeah, I know a little bit. I saw a couple of the videos. I went through quickly. Detroit Rock City. It was interesting. I mean, the set list is interesting that they threw in some old songs, like Firehouse and Strutter. A number of them off the first album, right? Jeez. You probably have more than half the album, at least, on the set list. So that's kind of cool. I mean, Heaven's on Fire. I don't think I saw that one. But that would have been an interesting one to listen to, because I hadn't seen all the videos. I didn't know where they all were. I saw a few links out there. I guess there's probably more now. I haven't gone back and looked. But as far as like Detroit Rock City, his voice was the best I've heard it sound probably in 8 years. And so that was like either, okay, I was thinking, well, either the rest was good for him, or he had some work done and it helped, has something done on his throat, vocal cords, or it's tape, to help him out, backing track. And I'm going to go with it's probably that. I just can't believe he sounded that good. But I could be wrong, we'll find out, I guess, once we start seeing more performances coming up. But I thought it was cool that they did it and had some nuggets in there. And maybe that's going to lead to some of those songs will maybe show up when they start the tour.
Yeah, I can just imagine Gene. We don't play the backing tapes. Ours are digital. No tape involved.
Yeah. Well, no, we're just not going to do interviews.
That was a few years back. But yeah.
You know, I don't care anymore. You know, if we're
as long as it's good.
I just don't care. I want a good Kiss show.
Sure.
I want a good Kiss show to go away with the illusion. And that's what Kiss has always been about. It's an illusion. In so many different ways throughout their career, things have not been what they seem. Whether it's players on albums, whether it's the sales figures or the history or the ads that were placed in newspapers right at the beginning of the band's history. This is Kiss. Kiss is a contradiction in many ways, but Kiss also now transcends any limitations for me. They're legendary. They're pop culture. They're cartoons. They're phantoms of the park. I just want a good Kiss show for the last time. If that's what it is, if that's what it takes, I don't fucking care anymore, because I will be standing in that audience, soaking it in for one last time, not worrying about whether it's tape, not worrying if there are other things that are being supported, you know, whether the strings holding up Gene are actually literally holding him up because he's tired, or worrying about whether Tommy's doing something that Ace once did, or Eric's doing something different from what Peter once did. I don't fucking care. We gotta all, let it go. Just let it go and enjoy it for one last opportunity. If you've been pissed off at the band for 15 years, or what is it, 16 now, about Tommy and Eric wearing Ace and Peter's makeup, get over it. Just let it go. Go one last time. And if you're so adamant that you're not going to go, please just shut up about it. Because, some of us would really like to enjoy it one last time. You've had 16 years. Who's left for thoughts on that? Lonnie? Sorry.
It's okay. 16 songs for a corporate gig. I was surprised by the length of that when I heard that they had played that show, and I'm thinking, maybe they did 6 or 7 songs, something like that. So I was pleasantly surprised when I found out they did that many songs. And yeah, Paul sounded really good. So I don't care. Like, to echo what Julian just said, I don't care if they have backing tapes, because I want to walk away the last time I see them the same way I've walked away so many other times, thinking that was amazing and that was awesome. And I want to think, like I thought in 2000 when I walked away, to think, God, I'm going to miss these guys, because that was great. And I understand there were some shows in 2000 that weren't great, but the shows I saw, I thoroughly enjoyed. And I like the diversity in the set list of Psycho Circus, of Say Yeah, of Heaven's on Fire. And I also like the fact that there were 5 songs from the first album played, which is the core classic Kiss tracks. And I would, if they're going to do that many songs, 25, I don't know how true that can be, but I would love to hear at least that many from that original album. I'd love to hear all 5 of those songs if we're going to play that many songs on tour, because those are the core Kiss songs, and they should be played one last time. But in the same breath, I do like the diversity of playing things outside of those 6 albums. So I hope that if it is a lengthy set list, and if they're using the benefit of technology from backing tracks or whatever, maybe it can be 25 songs. Maybe it can't. Maybe not. I don't know. But I just hope the set list for the tour is very diverse and is celebrating of all eras of the band, not just the original albums, and not just, we'll play Lick It Up, and we'll play Say Yeah or Psycho Circus. I want to hear more. I understand that maybe they can't hit every album, but I'd love to hear diversity. And I'm sure we'll talk set list quite a bit in the coming months before the first show. But as far as this goes, Paul's voice sounded good from what I've seen, and it makes me hopeful that this tour could be that we could walk away the last time still excited about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've always kind of secretly hoped that they would do. Like some of my favorite bands have done. Like Yes just now announced that they're doing a tour of Japan, and they're doing 3 nights in a row. I don't remember what city it is. It might be Tokyo or something. But on each night, they're rotating their set list. So the first night they're playing all of Close to the Edge. The second night they're doing a mixed bag of their greatest songs, and then the third night they're doing all of the Yes album. I mean, I would be awesome if sometime during the tour, Kiss just surprise everybody and say they're doing the first Kiss album in its entirety. You know, that would be awesome. Or they did like the whole Dress to Kill, played the whole of that album, or anything. You know what I mean? Just a surprise.
There's a reason why
surprises.
Ken's the voice of reason on this.
Yeah. You know, but I mean, because now if they're going to be using backing tapes, then maybe the concern of the singing isn't going to be as much, right? It's just a matter of them playing the material, right? And I'm sure they can play all those songs blindfolded, you know, come on. So it'd be interesting to maybe throw in an odd set like that in here every once in a while. I'm not saying every night to do that, just, you know, once in a blue moon on a special occasion or something, you know?
Yeah, so, you know, that set blew my mind, actually. I was very surprised. Number one, that's a corporate gig, and they're throwing in Heaven's on Fire, Say Yeah, and, you know, some of the things that you guys have already mentioned. But I also thought it was a very cohesive set. And, you know, it's like Lonnie has said, we talk about sets a lot, and we always, you know, we'll be, you know, analyzing the cruise ones to see if we can figure out, you know, anything about 2019 and the dates that are coming. Mm-hmm. But that was just, I mean, so heavy off the first album instead of Destroyer for once. That was nice. Mm-hmm. You know, Heaven's on Fire. I mean, come on, Plastercaster. They left a deep cut in for a corporate gig. That is very surprising. But, you know, Paul has says, I think the surprise will be how many songs we play. How feasible is it for them to be going much more than 16 songs in a set for the final farewell? You know, the days of 21 songs, I think, are probably long gone, but numbers have been thrown around like 25 songs. This is not the Foo Fighters. This is not Rush. This is not a band that has ever been known for putting on 3-hour shows where they just keep playing and playing and playing. They are still approaching 70 years old for Gene and Paul, and aren't that much younger when you think about Tommy and Eric now. They also have a lot of dynamics involved with their stage, you know, the showmanship and the costumes and the preparation and everything else that goes into it. When you add all of that together, is it really reasonable to expect more than 20 songs? And I know we touched a little bit on this already, but let's just, you know, from that perspective, just hit it again. Ken?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. It's reasonable. Besides the fact that, you know, Paul's not gonna sing all 25 songs. Okay, he's got people to help sing. The other thing is, I don't think they can really do a end of the road to celebrate their whole history and put it, you know, do 16 songs. It just doesn't. It's not enough. It's just not enough. And I've seen them do concerts with tons of songs back in the day. They could do it. Of course, they're not that young anymore. But if they knock out some of the long extended solos, trim them a little bit, make it more compact, and just plow through the thing. Less stage raps. It's going to shorten it. Very short, quick, you know, here's a song off of our, you know, Rock and Roll Over album or whatever. Boom, go into the, you know, song. It can trim other places, and it's still, I can still see the concert being an hour and 45 to 2 hours max. They're not going to go over 2 hours. I just can't see them doing that, but it'll be somewhere in that, you know, maybe an hour and 50 minutes, I'm guessing. Just think they can slam through these songs and just do it. So I think they have to do 25, and for to show everything from their past and end it nicely and give the fans one last, hurrah and victory lap too for themselves.
Lonnie.
I would love to see him play that long. I just don't know at 69 years old, Gene can stay up there for 25 songs in all that armor and keep playing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a lot to ask of anyone to stand. I mean, that's a lot to ask for a guy that's in shape, that's in his 30s or 40s in a Kiss tribute band to play 25 songs in one night, much less a guy that's pushing 70 in all that armor, in those boots, night in, night out. I think it's speculation. I think Gene has some foot problems because you see him in these tennis shoes now, and not the cowboy boots that you're accustomed to seeing him wearing. And you know what? I could definitely see that he would have feet problems after all those years walking around in those boots like that. So that's hard. That's very hard and very taxing on your body. So, I mean, I know we're going to talk set list for a long time in the months leading up, but I'd love to see it happen. But I'm not going to get my hopes too high that it's going to be. I mean, it was they played 20 songs on the farewell tour in 2000, and they played like 2 solid hours. That was 18 years ago. And that was a hip surgery and a vocal cord surgery before for Paul Stanley too. I mean, I'd love to see it happen, but we have to be realistic.
The audience is older too. They're going to need potty breaks, so I think that's going to be an intermission.
I mean, but one thing you could do to echo what Ken said too, get rid of some of the fluff. I don't need to hear the "Let's Get Fooled Again" thing in the middle of "Lick It Up." Let's just play "Lick It Up" straight through. We don't need to do that, and we could cut it. You can almost play another song for what it takes to do that.
Exactly.
Things like that. That the fat like that can be trimmed, and you can squeeze another song in.
And Lonnie, you're talking about the armor and everything. It's very possible that the new designs are very, very lightweight. I mean,
maybe they're favorable to that.
Be lightweight like a kite. I mean, it's possible. I know the boots you can only get so light, but I think the costumes are not that heavy. I really don't. At least the new costumes, I doubt they're that heavy. I don't think they're 40 pounds, or 30 to 40 pounds. No, I don't. There's no way. There's no way. There's technology now. You can make things lightweight now, and they look heavy, but they're not. It looks like metal, but it's not metal.
Yeah. So it's all in how it looks.
That's an excellent point.
The other point is Paul is the one that said 25 songs. Yeah. Why would he lie?
Yeah.
Why would Kiss lie about anything? You're exactly like.
Why would they mislead the fans? I don't.
I go there.
That's funny.
I just don't see 25 happening. I think 20. I think same kind of length as the farewell tour, but a lot more focused, a lot less. Kind of like you said, the middle section of "Lick It Up." I don't want to hear that again. I don't want to hear the long, drawn-out intro to "I Want You." I actually don't want to ever hear "I Want You" again either. For that matter, simply because what has been done with that intro. I don't want long stories. I just want them to, quickly introduce it, get the album wrong, and play the song. Or
don't even introduce it. Just go straight into the next song. I mean, tons of bands do that. I don't need an intro for every song. Just go straight into the next song.
I only want them to say something when they have something to say.
Correct.
Yeah, well, that's the point, though. I mean, before that was such a part of their stage show was Paul doing his thing. I went to the doctor the other day and all this other stuff, right? But I mean, now I think that should be over and done with now. I mean, a good example of this is Alice Cooper. Here's a man who doesn't have to introduce anything. Yeah, he just lets the music do the talking. He comes out and it's song into song into song. And I'm telling you, I've never ever heard anybody complain about that. And I went to quite a few Alice Cooper shows and been thoroughly enjoyable watching it that way. So they can get away with doing that. And again, I think sometimes I wonder if Paul just threw out 25 as just something that was just off the top of his head. Maybe he didn't even maybe it isn't a number that they really have.
Really.
Yeah, maybe he just thought, he just said, we're going to do a lot of songs. We'll do between 25 songs. Maybe it's really 21. Maybe he just off the top of his head used that number. Who knows, right? But, everybody brought up a lot of valid points, They're older. How are the costumes? Will they be able to survive that long? Will there be an intermission break in between? Who knows, right? But can they do it? Yeah, of course. They're technically still good enough musicians to play it, and they're not playing Dream Theater here. They're playing Kiss songs, right? So they can go ahead and play, 2 hours of that stuff. I don't think it without any problem. Again, it's just a matter of how is the singing going to be, divided amongst the people who sing within the band. If they put it out amongst, people like, Eric and Gene more evenly, it may not be that difficult to do. And, like you guys said, 21 songs seems a believable number since they've done it before, but, will they surprise us with 25?
Yeah, I think 25 is simply a matter of Paul Stanley hanging out with that Simmons guy too long. He's now exaggerating as much as Gene. But Paul also says something else in one of the interviews. I think it was, again, actually, I have no idea where it was. So he said anything's possible when asked about whether former members of the band could be part of the tour. So he said anything's possible. I've learned never to say never. So it's really a celebration of the band and not any particular lineup. It's a celebration of what we've managed to do with this amazing army of ours. Excluding somebody, I don't think that would happen. Is Ace working himself out of a job with all his appearances on radio? Because I'm starting to get a little bit uncomfortable by some of the things he's saying. Yeah, I'll do it for 100,000. Yeah, you got to start high with your negotiations. But I think throwing out asinine figures, I don't think Ace has had 100,000 payday for a gig in quite a long time. As much as I enjoy his shows, don't get me wrong, I'm not banging on him at all. It's just the realism of when you pull in 421 people into a club gig, you're not getting 100K. You're probably reaching for 15 to 20, if that. But former members, Ace, have you been watching Ace's appearances? I mean, they're hilarious. Mark?
Well, you know what? I'm getting like you. I'm getting a little concerned about Ace and his likelihood of being on here because he's saying all these things now too. Like I won't do it unless I'm able to come back in my full costume. I'm the original spaceman, and he said all kinds of things like that. Like that he won't come back and do it unless it's him in the makeup on there. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not going to happen. Though Paul and Gene seem pretty loyal to Tommy. Tommy, has been with them through the long haul, and I don't think they're gonna ditch him for Ace. I really don't think so.
They would in a minute. They would in a minute.
Nah, we'll see. Let's see if it happens. But one thing
I'm more pretty loyal to Bruce back in the day too.
Well, I'm gonna say this though. I believe that there's what's more likely that we'll see we'll see Bruce make an appearance with them than I think Ace at this point, because I think Bruce is, he said all the right things. He's never said anything bad about them. He's pretty flexible, I think, as far as me making an appearance. And if they ask him, listen, can you come and play a couple songs with us here on this date? I think he'll try to make it happen. He's that kind of a guy. I get the feeling that he'll try to do what he can to help them out and to do the tour because he knows it's the farewell. I have more faith in Bruce doing it now than Ace.
Ken,
I think.
Go ahead, Lonnie.
I think that saying that not to exclude anyone would be silly. I think we're extending the invitation to 2 former members, and I don't think an invitation is going to be extended to other former members. One in particular.
Vincent.
One in particular. In particular. I to say anything's possible to exclude anyone. I think again we're stretching the truth again, just like the 25 songs. I mean, that's not going to happen. As much as I would love it to happen, it's not going to. And I don't know if I'd like to see Chris on stage, but I don't know if Paul and Peter could see eye to eye to get on stage together. As much as I would like it to happen, I think there's still a lot of venom between those two. So I see it possibly happening I see it potentially happening with Bruce and, possibly happening with Ace. But I'd be very shocked if it would happen with the other two, but I would be very happy if it did.
It's funny that Peter hasn't even been mentioned in this at all. I haven't heard boo about him at all during this.
Why do you think that is, Mark?
Well, for what, like you said, I heard exactly the reason that you said. I'm just saying though, it is surprising that after him saying something like that even a reporter didn't say, like, even Peter, or something like that. He didn't even bring him up, Yeah.
Well, I look at it this way. If Ace comes back at all, it's going to be only for a few songs, maybe 3 to 5 songs. And if it even happened, you don't have to pay him a full salary if you're only going to keep him on, let's just say, for 5 songs at the end of the concert, the last 5 songs. And he could come out, I don't know, in makeup or in whatever. You could have 2 spacemen on stage. I don't care. It's not gonna bother me. If it works, it'll work. I mean, that's the only way I can see it really happening. It looks like Tommy's going to be there through the whole thing, obviously, with the outfit and everything, the costume. So I could see them coming on 3 to 5 songs, maybe Ace, maybe Bruce also. And play some of those songs that they're known for. The Ace, Shock Me for Ace, or whatever, one of his songs, and whatever with Bruce from his, the 80s stuff, basically, or Revenge even. So I could see it happening, but it's not going to be a whole show. It's going to be a few songs, and maybe at the end, if it happens that way. I mean, I'd love for it to happen that way, really. And then everyone gets on the stage at the final song. They're all there, rock and roll all night, whatever it is. I mean, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, preceded by Peter Criss doing Beth on his own one last time.
I'd love it. I would love it.
Eric Singer's probably going to do Beth.
No,
I don't know.
I bet we hear Beth. I side with Ken.
They haven't done Beth in a long time, and that's a major song.
If it is what it is. I don't mind Eric doing it. I would just rather it be Peter coming out and having that one spotlight on Peter.
I 100% agree. I would rather have it be Peter.
Yeah, I just think we're going to see something like the Glenn Tipton situation with Priest that you just never know. They're just going to keep it so relaxed that if they can get Ace up on stage for one song here or there, or Peter for one song here or there, or Bruce, since they only need to give him a bottle of water to go on stage, to play, maybe do Unholy and do the solo properly.
Rip a solo.
They just don't know. I don't see how it can happen. And Ace is putting all these like rules and parameters that's just like negotiating himself out of having to do it. Maybe that's what he's doing. It's weird. How do you honor them? We've talked about many different ways of honoring all the former members. I want Peter Criss to be treated with respect. I want to see Ace Frehley treated with respect. I want to see Tommy Thayer treated with respect for what he's given to the band. Same goes for Eric. Bruce, Gene, and Paul themselves. I don't see Vinny getting much respect because, Vinnie Vincent's Kiss, he kind of burned those bridges all over again in some of the things that he did and pissed off the band. And, all of a sudden you get Kiss events being scheduled in New York the same weekend that Vinny's trying to play live in Memphis. Amazing how that happens. So I don't see them losing any love with Vinny other than playing Lick It Up and I Love It Loud, which is, enough of a nod for them to say, maybe something nice about Vinny in concert. Unlikely, highly improbable, but there you go. Any final thoughts before we kind of wrap this one up, No? All blank.
No, I think that we said what we wanted to say.
I did tease a little spaceman for my wife. We talked about that last week on the show, and I got in the car and we made it through 3 songs, and she goes, "I can't believe you paid $8 for this on Amazon."
So she
did you buy?
She wasn't a fan of the album, were you saying?
She was not. We were in Kansas City with our friends, and over the weekend she goes, "Oh, put in that Ace Frehley album for Lisa and show her how bad it is." She it's like, wow.
Ooh,
well, I am curious though. Now that you've heard of Lonnie, do you have a favorite?
I do like that Mission to Mars. I'm siding with Julian. I like that.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out that was written by the other band. But cool song. Still my favorite.
I agree.
I've enjoyed it. I'm a little bit less now enthused by Quantum Flux. I'm starting to call it Quantum Reflux, but it hasn't aged well for me in the week. But it's just a little bit too, I don't know. It's a good album. All right, let's leave that there. That's enough. Next week, there will likely be no show because I'll be at sea.
You don't know that.
Yeah, you don't know that.
Hey, well, there you go. If you guys want to do a show next week, just throw it in the Dropbox and I will remote edit it and upload it. How about that? I will be... Yeah, hopefully I'll be having fun, and then we'll reconvene hopefully the following week and talk about the cruise, or maybe I'll get some people from the cruise and record some episodes while I'm at sea. That's what I'm hoping to do. So if you are, if you are going on the cruise, I'm bringing a video camera, I'm bringing my recording gear. I would like to talk Kiss with you and do some shows. If you want to just grab a mic, come on film, and talk about your Kiss stories and, what you're looking forward to with the end of the road, or you want to talk about how you became a fan, anything that you want to talk about Kiss related. You want to talk about podcasts, you want to talk about collectibles, you want to talk about whatever. I'll be around on the boat. I don't plan on going ashore anywhere other than the Bahamas. So I'll be propping up a bar, likely.
Nice.
And you know what I look like, so track me down. All right, let's leave that there. Thank you again to everyone who entered the contest, and thank you guys for participating in this episode. Congratulations to Lonnie for making it through Spaceman. I'm sure people on the board will be very relieved to hear that.
Pretty good.
All right, so let us know what your thoughts are on this topic, these various topics that we've discussed today. But for now, from Lonnie, from Mark, from Ken and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.